Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. The time is 6 p.m. We're here for the fifth Tuesday work session of the Coppell City Council. We do have a quorum present, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Just a couple of notes for our audience tonight. Thank you very much for being here. This is a work session. It is not a public forum. So there will be no interaction between the audience and our council during our deliberations and our discussions. This is a work session that allows us to work out issues that we've been addressing. However, we do have a citizen's appearance at the beginning of the session, and you are more than welcome to come up here and tell us anything you want us to know. So persons wishing to speak during the citizen's appearance must sign the register in the back of the room, and we will give you a few more minutes to do that. Presentations by individuals are limited to 2 minutes each unless a majority of the council waives that and allows 2 extra minutes for a total of 4 minutes. The person signed up to speak will be called in the order that you signed up, and no personal attacks may be made against any member of the council, the mayor, corporation, or individual. There will be no comments. Wow. I just thought the jet was flying over. There will be no comments or deliberation. City Council due to the requirements of the Texas Open Records Act. Once the timer sounds at 2 minutes, the city secretary or I'll step in and ask the council if you want or can be granted an additional 2 minutes. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Do feel free to sign up if you would like to speak tonight. We are more than welcome and encourage you to do so. You want to go ahead and get the list? We do have a number of people that have signed up, so we'll go down and start with that. Tonight we do have 3 items on the agenda after the citizen appearance. We'll get into those as soon as everyone has had their say. All right, the first person to speak is Margaret Brightwell. Come on forward. No, we need you to use the microphone. See, this is serious stuff. We really want to. I'm not a speaker, so. That's okay. Most of us are not either.
Oh, good.
If you would give your name and address, please.
Okay. I'm Margaret Brightwell, 477 West Bethel Road. I'm here about the parking in Oldsville. Basically, I just wanted to say that we had the foresight of having our own parking lot when we bought out here. This is the local government. And we've noticed lately that people are parking in our parking lot. Employees of other businesses and 8-hour shifts. I don't have parking for my patrons. So basically that's all I wanted to bring up was the fact that there is no parking available in some of the areas, some of the businesses. And I guess we need something done, or I'm thinking that there was a lot that was supposed to be for a restaurant, that maybe we should make that into a parking lot for our people. That would be my suggestion. And I believe that lot is in front of George's, on the side of the buildings. I think that would be the perfect solution. And maybe at least give us another 10 slots or something. I also I'll finish with that.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Mr. Dan Kohler.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, esteemed city staffers. My name is Dan Kohler. I reside at 521 Anderson Avenue in the lovely city of Coppell with my beautiful wife and our 2 breathtakingly handsome sons. The younger of those 2 heartbreakers plays football, and that's how I ended up as the communications director for the Coppell Cowboys Football Booster Club, I'm here to invite all of you to our spring game on Thursday, May 2nd at Buddy Eccles Field. Games will start at 5:30. We would love to see you there. That's all I got.
Mr. Kohler, I must admit, very seldom do our speakers get a round of applause. Next up is Mr. William Hens.
Well, I'm William Hensey. I live at 721 South Coppell Road in Old Town. It's the corner of Houston and South Coppell. I want to talk about Old Town parking. I'm not sure what the laws are exactly, but I assume it may simply be out of the power of the council of the city to preserve public parking spots for business for whatever reason. Maybe very good reasons to do so, but it may just be out of power. I guess that's what we will discuss later today. So I assume that's why the city is issuing these tenant and customer-only parking spots for any business or customer. It allows them to be reserved for the business while still keeping them public. But I think one negative of this is that some people going to these businesses, customers or employees, might avoid those spots because they know they're going to be there for a long time. So they end up parking other spots, leaving the tenant spots open, still maybe get even more parking soon. I'm not sure if there's really a solution to that other than maybe the business letting their employees and customers know that those spots are okay at parking. But I guess my main request speaking is that these 10-minute signs, or if they do signs get approved to replace them, that they have some way of being active only when the business is actually open. Some of the busiest parking times in Old Town are Friday evenings, so there's events, and Saturdays, tons of traffic coming for farmers market, coming for the coffee shop and other places. So the street, the parking spot that used to was always full up. And now, since we've been having these reserve spots, it's all full, but there's like 4 to 6 empty spots there often. And you see cars sort of pull in one little bit and they back up and move on, or they slow down, stop, and then go forward. And so just some way to be able to reserve those, say those are only reserved during weekdays. And a couple of easy solutions would be to have a day of time and operations below the sign, like Monday through Thursday before 5 p.m. or something like that. Or just make the sign glue it away a Friday evening, put it back, before Monday morning. Or even just turn the sign around. It's a second to do. That would also, I think, somebody did turn some of the signs around, and that was effective for the weekend. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next speaker is Cam Montgomery. I'm going to get this last name wrong. Fight. Okay, sorry about that. What? Oh, it's
I'm Dr. Cam Montgomery Fitz. I'm at 454 Houston Street. I'm a holistic veterinarian. I do functional medicine and revitalizing pet care. I share that building. It's Football Place. I share that building with my colleague, Dr. Michelle Rogers, and we provide services for those dogs that are infirm and old. And I've spoken with you before, and I really appreciate you hearing me again. So one of the things that I want to do is to give you an update. Since the last time you spoke, they took the signs away that we had and then put those 10-minute parking. And so I need to be updated on that's working for us. Now, in our practice, we have a high percentage of very infirm dogs that have issues with both cats. And these dogs have trouble walking, and Michelle will talk to you about that as well. We also have very weak and debilitated animals. So having them in front is very helpful because they can only make that show a greater distance. Now, Michelle works from the outside in, I work from the inside out, and we meet in the middle. And what that means is we're working together to bring out a better quality of life for these dogs. This last month has been really difficult for them. And Michelle can give you an example for today. But what we're finding is the dogs are having difficulty making it. And one thing I need you to understand is that these dogs don't have handicap parking. That's available to you and I. You have to apply for it. But they're not even eligible for that. And so we were one of the practices that actually put out signs that said, please, patient parking Monday through Friday. I do like the idea of the hours. And if you'll let me have my sign back, I can do the hours as well. But what I want to say is it's really debilitating these patients to take a long walk. And there are clients the other day, I had to let somebody through the back door when I went out to get garbage. Her dog can't walk, she was carrying her, and she was red faced at 85 degrees, she was sweating, not feeling well, she was very exasperated. And she actually parked in the parking lot that you were talking about earlier. So we're not saying that we don't think one business should be prioritized on the other, and I don't hold any grudge for any other business. Can I finish?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I don't want to say that that we should prioritize anybody over anybody else, but I don't hold grudges. What I'm asking for is that we have dedicated parking, 2 slots. That's all I'm asking. It's fine that you suggest that. I think that's a great idea to be able to take care of our patients. Because if we don't take care of them, somebody else will, and we'll lose the business. Sitting Coppell with us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Michelle Rogers.
Hi, Dr. Michelle Rogers, for 54 Houston Street, and we have located in my practice. As Dr. Pat was saying, this is one of our biggest issues right now. Is we don't have handicap spots for our animals, and unfortunately, a lot of our patients have owners that are in dire need of help themselves. So I treat an enormous amount of service dogs. A perfect example was a patient I saw at quarter past 5 this afternoon, who is an MS patient herself, and it took her about 8 minutes to get to me because she had to park on the other side of George's and she can't walk. So this isn't only affecting the animals that we treat, this is affecting the clients too. And that could have really dire consequences on these people who do have service dogs. We're talking about military veterans who have dogs with PTSD, post-surgical dogs who actually can't physically walk. And we're asking these clients to try to let their dogs from hundreds of meters away to try to get to us. And it's becoming quite an issue, not only for the dogs that we treat, but for the actual clients themselves. And Old Town Coppell has got so much going for it. We have an amazing diner. In fact, we have wonderful restaurants. We want people to come here. We want people to really be able to enjoy the entire experience. But unfortunately, now that we can't accommodate them, they're not actually able to go and visit some of the other businesses too. So I really we're not asking for a lot, just a little bit of help. And I know that our clients and our patients will be so grateful. And Coppell has got this wonderful, wonderful reputation for being so pet friendly. I believe that you really are, and you want the best for these animals. And I think if we could help in this way, that would be really wonderful. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your comments tonight. Our next speaker is Henry Tran.
Wow, since I was about to start in the first university. Last Sunday I was address for the record. I was Canadian address 602 Coppell. Last Sunday I watched a movie. And some hero said that you want to change the world, go home and love your family. So I love my 2 kids. One is my daughter, is almost 20 years old, and the second one is 12 years old. We love tennis. I play tennis with my son every day. And when we on soccer, thank you for the facility. But now lately for I think 1 or 2 years, I feel like it's not enough court. I see parents with the kids, especially the dad. Usually goes and play tennis with them. And when the kid go visit one facility, another facility, and go around and around and around and around, they cannot get it. Especially after school is over and all the kids at the time. Used to be 2 years ago, it's easy to find a court, but now it's kind of hard. But those that is Olympic balls, I believe that we also agree that we need more for us. Coppell especially is kids. I don't know what to say, kids friendly or a lot of kids. I can represent all those kids. It's in the elementary school, the middle schools. They don't have any representation. We all hear about. I asked my boy would you please come here? I said, why don't take anything? So if I can represent them, thousands of the kids, it's you have, if Coppell has more plan or enlarge the facility so that we all can play together. Want to change the world, go home and love your family, and I love my family.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Shopping Yang.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Charlie. I'm in the 204 Street in Chicago. Now, I'm here for 2 points that related. First of all, I strongly support the Viking Mill. I told the story earlier. Just a summary is my kid started playing. He's 12 now, but he started playing tennis during the COVID. So that's huge relief for us. Because the kid can go out to do sports, so they don't have to travel home. But that thanks to the coach and the staff to the Wagon Hill. So they have a fantastic junior program. A lot of the kids make friends, so it's happy, strong, exhausted back at home, so we are so happy. That's the value about the second, related to this is we funded the fort from the school. We live close to north. And also I found all the middle school except the west. We don't have functional ports. One, there's no fan, there's no block to the wing. Second, they don't have functional lights. So the summer also play, need the lights to play. I heard this operator also with the parks. So and also the high school, they know that open to everyone to play. Which is not a case for surrounding ISPs. So I really recommend that the city can refurnish those courts and fields for kids to play. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, and I'm going to apologize before I try the name, is Renaya Mannion, I think. So please teach me how.
My name is Yuvarajan. I go Viraj.
I apologize.
Thanks for my time. So I'm here to
Same address.
Sorry. I'm Yuvarajan Manian, and I live in 114 So thanks for the time. Good evening, everybody. So I'm here to support and first of all, thankful for the opportunity my kids have. I have two kids. My daughter is a junior at Coppell High School. My nephew was a They both grew up playing tennis all in very deep. First of all, thank you for that. They have been doing this for 5-6 years. But lately, I also have the same concern that we seem to be running short of roads. Don't seem to be moved here like about 7-8 years ago. That time Coppell was at an effort section, but now the junior program is very good. My kids enjoy going there, playing. They spend a lot of time. But I think many of the other facilities around Dallas, now they have come up with indoor court, they have more courts today. Stuff like that, if we could consider that, it would be really helpful. And again, thank you for Coppell to do this wonderful facility. We would like to grow more so that we will have more kids and we'll have more time to play events. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Gary Kramer.
Good evening, I'm Gary Kramer. My wife and I live at 755 West Main Street. My wife owns the keep right up the street. And I'd like to just talk for just a second about the party. I've heard a couple of people mention party, and I'm glad we're addressing it now instead of waiting to really have a major issue. And one of the things I'd like to discuss is I love farmers market, but farmers market on Saturday takes up some parking spaces that could be used for the people coming to George's, Twisted Root, my store, and any other store that moves in the near future. And as this development grows, and as the new locations grow out there on Bethel Road, I think parking is going to be a really key issue. I would like to see parking be used for parking. And then I should stress something else. I think we all that live here in Old Town, if we all work together, I think we can find a solution that works for everybody. And I appreciate the time. And thank you so much for letting me come and talk. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments tonight. This was our last speaker. I'll leave it open. Is there anybody else that would like to have a word? Please step forward. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move on with our agenda. Item A is a presentation regarding Wagon Tennis Pickleball Center operations. And for that, I think we have Ms. Sherry Blah.
I just said being said. Okay, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. It's not here. Yeah.
I do. Yes.
Yay! Good job. All right, that's what these ladies are for. All right. So good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here tonight to present to you a few current and future updates here at Wagon Tennis Pickleball Center. So first off, I want to start by introducing a few of my coworkers that I have here in the back. So first we have Jason Brooks, who is our Pro Shop and events coordinator or supervisor, excuse me. And then we have Chris Wellness, who's our lead teaching and programming professional. We have Marcus Kleckner, who's our hybrid tennis and pickleball instructor. And then I'm extremely excited to announce our newest team member, Joe Weber, who just joined us yesterday. So thank you guys for all being here tonight. Oh, sorry. Joe is the manager of our facility, our new Wagon Tennis and Pickleball Center manager. So my apologies. I'm so excited to announce who he was at everyone's time. The long-awaited Joe Weber. So first off, we're going to begin here with a quick overview of Wagon Tennis and Pickleball Center. So at the facility, we currently have 12 tennis courts and 14 pickleball courts. So the structure for that is that 7 of those are dedicated to tennis, which you'll see in red. 4 of those are dedicated to pickleball, which you'll see in blue. And then 5 of those are our hybrid courts, which you'll see in purple. And those courts serve as 5 tennis courts or our 10 pickleball courts. This is what gives us a total of our 12 tennis courts or our 14 pickleball courts. So here, these numbers show you the growth of Wagnerville over the past few years. For this specifically, we're mainly going to focus on the growth numbers at the bottom of the slide. So in 2023, we had a total growth rate of 41% for all of our court reservations over 2022. And for program participants, we had a growth rate of 48% over 2022, which was already a high growth rate of 66% since 2021. Wagnerville Tennis and Pickleball Center is growing at a very rapid rate, with participants attending our programs and reserving our courts. And clearly, these numbers are very telling as to why we have plans in place for what we need to do at our facility. And I'll discuss more of that here in a few minutes. So here, when I talk about open play pickleball, this means that there's no reservation needed, but there are specific times scheduled that anyone can walk in, pay, and join the open play group. Open play currently is not just limited to Coppell residents, but it does welcome our non-residents as well. So Wagnerville Tennis and Pickleball Center currently hosts open play on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday mornings, and then Wednesday afternoons. The cost is $3 a person for residents and $3.50 for non-residents. The court hosts indoor open play on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, and then Wednesday afternoons. The cost is $4 per person for a day pass, or it's included in your membership. For the summer at the court, those times and days will stay the same, but we will have to decrease our court number down to 2 from 4 due to the heavy usage we have at that facility in the summer. However, we do plan to expand our offerings in the fall at the court to add Mondays and Fridays to our morning schedule, which will provide an indoor pickleball 5 days a week at that facility. The YMCA hosts indoor open play on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the cost is $10 per person, or it's included with their membership. And so there could be more private locations in Coppell, but these are the locations that we have direct communication with, and we know the public has access to. So the current fee structure at Wagnerville for court reservations is $3 per resident and $3.50 for non-residents for an hour and a half rental time. Those same rates apply for our open play pickleball, but the cost is for the length of the open play session, which is 3 hours. This second graph is a review of the surrounding municipal facilities and locations. The city of McKinney charges $4 for residents and $5 for non-residents. And for open play pickleball, the cost is $5 for both their residents and non-residents. Samuel Grand in Dallas charges both residents and non-residents the same at $5 per person, and their open play pickleball is free to the residents and $5 to their non-residents. LB Houston charges $5 to both residents and non-residents. South Lake Tennis Center charges $4 for residents and $5 for non-residents. And then the new South Lake Pickleball Center that just opened a few months ago. It's a membership-based facility where resident membership is free, and non-residents can purchase a membership at $40 a month. And both of those memberships do include your open play in that. They do have an additional charge to reserve courts, which is $30 a court, but again, that's for members only. While our rates are at the lower end, we are not far off in comparison, but that just means we do have room to adjust and make sure that we're in line with the market offerings and in line with what our community expects of us. Per our master fee schedule, the department has the authority to adjust those fees. We have been looking at these fees for a while now, but as we've been in between managers, we decided to put a brief pause on that to allow our staff really to dedicate their time and efforts towards facility operations and programming. The time has finally arrived, and we'll now be working towards a new fee schedule since we've hired on a new facility manager. So our reservation and registration policy at Wagnerville Tennis and Pickleball Center is structured like our other recreation facilities to allow residents priority when it comes to bookings and program registrations. For our reservations, we allow residents 7 days prior to the booking date to reserve a court, while our non-residents only get the 5 days in advance. For program registrations, once that registration period opens, so that's the fall, summer, winter, and spring, our residents have a full 7 days prior to the non-residents. This allows for priority access for our residents, and this policy is in place for all the activities held at Waggle. Our philosophy at Waggle Tennis Pickleball Center is to engage both sports, allowing equal access to the dedicated courts while having blended courts available for both the sports. We do have several leagues that call Waggle home to their teams, and within those leagues, there are specific requests for dedicated tennis courts, just like there are requests for dedicated pickleball courts. We're currently able to accommodate both of those sides. The USPTA requires us having at least 5 dedicated courts for any tournament play that they host. And then when we do partner with Coppell High School, they use our courts as overflow for their league matches and the tournaments. So here we're very excited to announce that we've officially installed the artificial turf at our pickleball hub. And it looks absolutely amazing, as you can see here. The functionality and the drainage, which we've been able to test out the past couple weeks, and the aesthetics are something that we're extremely excited for our community to enjoy. With this refurbishment, we've also included some new seating areas and umbrellas, as you see in the photo, and then we do have more benches and chairs coming for this area, as well as other areas in the facility. And then the other bullet point up there is, as I announced earlier, as of yesterday, we're going on day 2, we have our new facility manager, Joe, on board, and so we're excited to announce what he's going to bring to the development of the staff, the patrons, and this facility. The last few months have truly been dedicated to making sure we brought on the right person that can really help this facility grow into the future. And even though it took us a while to find the right person, we're extremely glad we did. So speaking of the future at Waggle Tennis and Pickleball Center, here are some of our next steps. So in the short term, we will start with an increase of fees for our non-residents. We will then continue our extensive inventory of fees and look at a new rate structure for residents in the next coming months. We always open an hour earlier during the summer months, and now we're looking at extending those hours a little bit earlier. And then the last point up there is we'll be expanding our pickleball open play dates and times to add an additional day and time that will help create users during some of our slower periods. And we're planning to have these take effect by June 1st, 2024. So for our long-term planning, we're in the beginning stages of a facility feasibility study, which is in conjunction with our department master plan. This item was officially placed on our park board project priority list in August of 2023 after years of conversations discussing adding additional courts in that facility. This study will help us create a plan and inventory of needs and wants with the space we have out of Raccoon. As staff, we feel that we do have room to expand to add additional courts, but working with a consultant will really help us gauge that. In addition to and alongside the feasibility study, we will need to look at an expansion of our entire facility. This could include courts for both tennis and pickleball, a larger pro shop, and a renovation and expansion of our restrooms. The renovation of the restrooms has been listed on our 5-year forecast for several years now, but we've pushed it into later years in hopes that we can complete that feasibility study first. We want to make sure that when we expand or build anything new, that we're doing it intentionally, not only for our current needs, but also for our future needs. And so thank you for your time this evening, and I, along with Jason, Chris, Marcus, and Joe, are here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you for telling me somebody was asking a question. Oh, thank you very much, appreciate it. I had one question. When is your peak usage? I guess like not in the summer, but during the spring and fall when weather's nice.
Like daytime is mostly mornings and evenings. So mornings is more high use for a lot of our open play, and then evenings more high use for our programming.
And during the periods of peak usage, do you have people waiting for courts, or do you have a space available?
It depends on the day, but yes, there are some days where we definitely have people waiting for courts, or they come in and a court's not available. Let's say if someone just wanted to come in and walk through the door and reserve the courts, there are some days we don't have those available.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it. Councilmember Neville, Neville's and then Councilmember Harris.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a question about the current pricing structure that is in place right now. I don't know if you can go back to the slide. It was in the top right corner. There was there was one with the comparison, I think maybe one before, of the core and then I think that was another one right before. There we go. So just curious as the price discrepancy between the core and the wagon wheel, it's $3 and then $4 for residents and then $3.50 and $6. Just curious about why that is different at the different facility, and is there any when we do the pricing, is there any desire to get some consistency across the board there? Just interested in that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we have had that discussion over the years, and really, especially wagon wheels facility rates, that was set maybe
information here. At the end of your presentation, you mentioned about consultant. Do we have a consultant already?
we do. We're working with Pros Consulting, which they are actually doing a lot of our programming research through our master plan process with Dunaway. And Pros Consulting is actually the consulting firm that did the city of Flower Mound pickleball feasibility study a few years back, and they're currently working on a pickleball new facility and feasibility study in Colorado right now.
What's their objective? What are they going to give us back? What kind of report are we expecting from them?
So we have an official meeting on May 7th. So we've had a couple of just preliminary meetings with them through our master plan process, but they're going to help us navigate, do we have physical space to expand our current footprint? That's step one. Do we have that physical space? And then they'll help us guide through, different studies that they've done throughout our region and the data that we have through our master plan process and data that we've gathered to figure out what our needs are, our current residents.
Thank you.
Councilman Walker.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So, I'm glad we're looking at a long-term feasibility study. I think it's great. Glad we're looking at expanding the facility. I also think that's great. Obviously, that's going to be a 1 to 2 year thing at best. So, what I'd really like to do is I'd like to go ahead and look at things that won't cost the city money right up front or will be negligible, but can provide some relief out there. So first, I'd like to see I think we should really definitely charge non-residents quite a bit more. I don't think that'll dissuade all of them, and I don't think anyone in Coppell that plays out there wants to dissuade all of the out-of-towners from coming in, because it does help to enhance the competition at different levels, but at the same time, I don't think any of the folks that live here that are already paying taxes want to wait, 30 or 40 minutes to play during open play. And then I'd like to go ahead and I'm glad to bring in some more seating in the hub. I think that's great, but I think we should have some type of permanent awning for shading, because those umbrellas, every time I see those in any kind of windy weather like we've had, I get kind of concerned about seeing them flying around. And I really think we need a lot more shade than that. So I would really encourage you to look at putting in some type of relatively sizable awning and try to get that in before the hot summer months hit this summer, even if possible. And I'd like to go ahead and at least propose that we put alternate lighting on all the tennis courts, so that as many tennis players are out there that want to play tennis, as many pickleball players that want to play, that want to reserve a court, will have that option available if there aren't enough tennis players out there at the time. I think part of the frustration, as I understand it, has been that there'll be tennis courts out there that aren't being utilized at particular times, but they're not lined for pickleball, and so the optionality just doesn't exist. And then I wanted to ask you about, there was reference in some of the materials that I've seen about this PFOS system. Can you explain that to us and kind of what that is and where that stands?
Yes, absolutely. So if anyone's familiar with our recreation software, it's called ActiveNet, and that's the system we use through all of our recreation facilities. So the theater center, the BEC, the diagonal to the pickleball center and then at the core. And so if you're a member of the core, you can have like that little key tag, yes, the mayor has one right there. And so that's what's being referenced. And so that's something that we've actually been working on for several months, but again, due to that absentee of the manager, it was a project that was on that manager's list. And so we've been trying to focus our efforts on different areas, which is why it hasn't got off the ground yet. But we did get the official scanners installed, I believe last month or the month before. I have to confirm when we officially got those scanners installed. But so we have the software, now it's just about training and getting our staff up to date and then issuing the key fobs. So we can do that pretty quickly.
So would that enable people to go out the wagon wheel before staff is there to open the facility and still gain access to courts, or what would the functionality of that be?
Yeah, so really the functionality of that would be, so we have what we call a court pass. So it's kind of a membership base where they have like a scan pass. So it allows them 10 punches on there. So really it would just allow someone to walk in the door, scan their punch pass, and then walk through to the open play or their courts. So it doesn't allow access before or after hours. That's not something we would necessarily recommend to do that, just due to safety for unstaffed facility. But the key fob does help with the ease of access of getting into checking in the building.
Okay, thanks a lot. And I do think do you think that with respect to this long-term study, that's something that we could realistically have on the agenda for the January planning retreat?
Potentially. I'll probably know more when we start our official meeting, and then as we work through our master plan process, I'll have more information. So we can definitely slot it for that and then see where we're at that time.
Great job, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the information. This is really helpful and appreciated just kind of the way that you presented it, because it was just, I'm a visual person, so that was really helpful. Quick question here on the additional, like, I know this is short term and you're looking for additional facility hours to be open. Do you foresee there needing to be an increase in personnel to do that?
Yes.
And if so, do you have an idea?
So I wouldn't necessarily say increase in people, but definitely increase in hours. So if we're looking an extra 1 to 2 hours per day per person, depending on what hour we land on, it would increase that. So I think for the most part, we can get by with the CSAs we have, but there could be a potential to do that.
And then as far as the fee structure, can we go back to the slide that Kevin was asking about? I was also looking at the differences in cost. So I think for clarity on my end, I just want to understand on the core and the YMCA, is that like a day pass where you can play pickleball plus use the gym? Is that why it's a little bit more?
So for the core, it is a day pass for access to the entire facility. For the YMCA, from my understanding, it is for pickleball open play only. Okay. Meaning you don't have to have a membership for that, but if you do, it's included. If not, it's $10.
Okay, and then as far as residents and non-residents, do we have a percentage as far as like, do we know what the percentage is of people who are using our facilities for pickleball, for example, just or for the facility overall, residents and non-residents?
So it's specifically for pickleball, it's close to 50-50. Historically, we have not done a resident versus non-resident tracking. We've been doing that the past couple months, and it's right at 50-50 for that open play. Facility-wide, I would say it's probably pretty close to that as well. I can get you those exact numbers, but I think for programming, when I'm looking at programs versus, actually with this one slide, the users are skewed, but if you're looking at, not skewed, but participants versus tennis participants, obviously it's a little different there, but I can get you those exact numbers for residents versus non-residents.
Okay, and that would be helpful. I know that we are looking, so I'm all on board for looking at the fees and keeping it economical for our residents and increasing the rates for non-residents. But I'm also trying to understand, like, with regards to whatever that increase is, are we still servicing our residents, if that makes sense, right? So understanding what that percentage is, and I would actually like to know even on the core what that looks like. And have they also run into issues with just wait times in usage of the pickleball courts?
Yes, at the core, so it's not as drastic of a wait time, but there is similar, because there we have 4 courts. So on some of our heavier usage days, there is a wait time, I would say 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes longer, just depending. They have a big flex in their players. Sometimes it's very heavily used, sometimes it's not, but there is still a wait time there, but I can get those numbers there for resident versus non-resident.
Thank you. And the last question I have right now was with regards to lines on the courts. So I know there's been some conversation, Jim's brought that up as far as the lines and being able to utilize the courts, like the same courts for tennis and pickleball. I guess I don't know if this is the right place to ask, but have y'all looked into that? Are there pros and cons to doing that? Because I don't see that as a short-term recommendation. And so would just for open discussion, kind of are there pros and cons to that? And what is staff looking at in the perspective line?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had lots of discussions about lining all of the courts versus lining maybe an additional court and looking at that. And really our facility, we try to make it multi-use. And so what we're noticing kind of industry-wide is that a lot of our cohorts have taken full tennis facilities and lined completely with pickleball, and they've lost a lot of their users. Because there are some users who want only dedicated tennis. There are some users who want only dedicated pickleball. And then there's some that don't really mind it. And then we had, cohorts who have completely taken tennis facilities off the map and turned them into pickleball. So we've had kind of the gamut of what's happening. So we've had those discussions of what would that do for our users. And so really we do have the ability to line an extra court if we needed to, which would allow us 2 additional pickleball courts. If we were to do that. If we were to go in line all the facility, the staff wouldn't recommend that. That's something we can definitely do, but we would not recommend that only for the reasons that we have a lot of use from tennis leagues around, from the CHS uses our courts a lot for their overflow. And so that would just allow some of them to use that. But then also we have a lot of our users who only want dedicated tennis. So it kind of prohibits a lot, which is why we try to be delicate at keeping enough pickleball dedicated and enough tennis dedicated, and then having them blended.
Okay, thank you very much for that, and I really appreciate it. I want to make sure that we are keeping in mind that we have tennis players and we have pickleball players, and we might have those who play both, but just making sure that we are servicing the needs of all those particular residents.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Mayor. I had a question about just general capacity of the facility. I understand that the feasibility study will probably answer a lot of questions about capacity and things like that. But just what we're seeing, obviously, if you're looking at the tennis program participants, there's a huge jump from 21 and 22. Is that COVID kind of comes to mind about maybe like rebuilding and rebuilding programs and stuff from that. Are those numbers in line with what the facility looked like pre-COVID? And then my second part of my question would be like, does staff, do they think that like the program participation, is that like camps? Is that just the free play? What does that look like? And then do we have room for more of that? Or really are we hitting a capacity issue where we do need to, obviously I know you propose looking at the expanding the facility, but I guess I want to know like how maxed our courts currently are. I think that's my big question. Right.
Yeah. So these numbers do include all program reservations. So that's specific like actual you pay, you reserve in advance to register. This does not include like any of our open play or drop-in usage. So question number 1 answered there. So as far as the capacity of where we're at, we do have waiting lists on a lot of our programs that we have because with any instruction, we limit the number of players we have on a court, obviously due to safety, but also to make sure that user gets the dedicated experience that they deserve, right? If you have 20 players versus one coach, you're not getting that experience and that dedicated coaching. And so we usually try to limit ours for like 8 or 10 per class. But we are maxed out in a lot of our programming. The other issue we run into with that is a lot of our programming is dedicated to those nights and weekends when the majority, especially youth, can utilize those times. A lot of our open play times we're able to do in the day, during the middle, or during the mornings in the middle of the day, but a lot of those programming times, and we run out of court space as well. Especially because we do try to keep open a number of courts. So, you know, if you and your child wanted to walk in and play, they have a court that they can utilize that for. And then as well as we do have instructors that are doing the one-on-one private lessons or semi-private lessons as well. So we try to split the facility as far as like these number of courts are dedicated to programming, these are dedicated to instructors, these are dedicated to kind of that walk-in lobby play. So we are reaching a point of capacity. The staff has done a really good job of trying to protect the quality over quantity, especially in the last 7 months. And so we're not growing our programming as much, we're just protecting that quality.
Mark? Thank you, Mayor. So you mentioned there are 2 leagues that call Wagon Wheel home, is that correct?
There's a couple leagues, I think 3 total. 5 total, sorry.
And they're all Coppell based, like CYSA, you know?
They're not all Coppell based, they do have Coppell teams though, or team captains.
Team captain. So do you have an idea of the percentage of those people who are non-residents that are?
So for those leagues, we don't actually keep residency on those because they are ran through an outside association. And so what these outside associations do is they're a DFW-based league, but then there's certain facilities around the Metroplex and everybody has a home base. So a lot of the people that have home base in Wagonville are residents or have resident captains there. So we don't keep an actual like resident or non-resident on those leagues.
So for the available hours for pickleball, how much do those occupy time-wise? Like 50% or?
Available hours for pickleball leagues or for pickleball open play?
Well, to be played by whether you have a reservation or whether it's open play. I mean, does the league occupy 3 days a week for 2 hours every day, or?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So, I might, Jason, do you mind to step down here for a minute? I might convert to Jason on the exact data. Yeah, come up here. The exact data on how many days a week the leagues play since we run our leagues. But I know we try to keep a good amount of courts for open play. Like if open play is happening, we're not scheduling leagues on those open play courts. If that makes sense. You would talk about in the leagues play.
Yeah, so are you talking about the pickleball leagues specific or?
Yes.
Both. So we service 2 different organizations for our pickleball leagues. They're called NET and TCD. We schedule around the open play to schedule those times. Those leagues on Tuesdays and Fridays. And then our tennis leagues pretty much service one league a day, matches a day. And that could be anywhere from 3 courts are being used in the morning to a total of say 12. But we schedule the leagues in respect to open play pickleball and try not to schedule the entire distance.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you. And one other question. So this is the study that you're performing or having this sort of do. You're talking about the future possible expansion. Is that only in the Wagon Wheel area?
Yes, currently we're just looking at the footprint of Wagonville.
Have you looked at other places?
There's a potential we've been at that too of satellite courts around town. Right now, we really do want to focus on Wagonville just because that's where the need is and that's where we can expand the facility and really bring, we can keep up the courts and stuff. I think after we get through the feasibility study, if we have land or we have other areas we can do a satellite court as a potential for the future.
Now, I think we have an ideal location right outside the senior center. to be an extension of the senior center. We've got plenty of land there. I think that we can do this for.
I would have to convert to city manager's office on that land usage there. But no, that's a great point there.
Thank you, Derek. Couple of questions. The tennis program participants. I know which is now what in the April. The 2023, we're looking at that 145.47 versus 47. To this day, do we see any changes? The shifting of the program participant versus the tennis and the pickleball? I'm talking about this year compared to last year.
Comparatively overall or between the two bracket? So I would definitely say pickleball will increase for our program participants because we're offering more programs for 2024. So yes, there will be an increase for that.
Okay. And then as far as the participants, what is the age group for the tennis program versus pickleball programs?
So
that you're seeing right now.
Yeah, no. So with tennis, we offer youth all the way to adults. With pickleball, more of it is adult programming. We're not seeing the need as much for the youth programming. I know last year we tried out a couple of the youth camps and there wasn't a need or an ask for that. And so if that ask comes up of, hey, we want pickleball for youth, then we're definitely going to be trying it again. Because we want that, right? We want to be able to grow our youth program as well, but we're not seeing the need for youth pickleball right now. It's not the need for our facility.
Okay, right now they're more concentrated on tennis.
Yes.
And then I know you were talking about we're going to get some consultant and things like that, but I don't know if you have done this, but you talked about the additional hours, providing additional hours. Have you done the cost analysis on additional hours versus what the cost would be to add additional, the staff actually manage the additional hours versus what it actually draws in?
We haven't done a cost analysis that way as far as how many users we would have, just because we don't necessarily know if we're open, at 7 a.m. instead of at 8 a.m. We don't necessarily know how many users we have. We have, people that say how to use it, but the comparison of that is kind of hard to look at compared to the staff time. But it would be relatively, even if we're talking, 1 or 2 hours per day, a couple hours per week.
Then at this time, if you're a member of one facility, that doesn't matter, you still would have to pay the entire fee for another facility. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. Membership are paid per facility.
Okay, so, and that's going to stay like that?
As of right now, yes.
There's no benefit from having one membership and go to another one because you have membership in that one facility.
It's something that we've discussed in the past. We've had a request here and there, but it's not something that we've made a benefit to all yet.
And then going back to the senior center, I know maybe we did have some indoor pickleball facilitation, but is that off the table completely or what are we on?
Yeah, so what we were finding out when we were hosting the pickleball at the senior center was we were doing it in our large multi-purpose room where we used luncheons and all of that, and we were taping the lines on the floor. And that was obviously extensive work every single Friday to take those lines, take them up, retape them. But the bigger issue we were running into was safety. We were having seniors fall on the stage, we were having them fall into the windows just because, right? You're playing the sport, right? Everyone gets into it. And so it was more of the safety of the reason we actually pulled that off the table. And the floor is not conducive to that. So we were having lots of slips where the balls weren't bouncing correctly. So there were a lot of safety concerns for the reason why we pulled that and pushed it over to the floor and back of them.
The last one, you talked about its expansion at the Wagon Wheel Center. Just looking at the current, I guess, the setting at the center, if we were to expand in that area, how many courses would we be able to add if we were to add in that area?
Yeah, so when we just kind of, right, we're staff, so we're not planners, but when we looked at this area, we have some potential growth to the south, like if you're looking at the parking, or to the east towards like the Wagon Wheel soccer fields. We have some growth there. We can't go any further up north because that's where the creek flows into the nature park. But we do have some potential to potentially remove some parking, right? We have to give up one for the other. But I would say as far as we were adding pickleball, I mean, we could add, I don't wanna quote anything and say how many for sure we could add. But the small, like red courts there, those 4 would be pickleball courts. So if we're putting those in places, 8, 12 maybe, that would even out expanding tennis, but then if we expanded tennis as well, there is.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to ask you about the Sky SPUs, the facilities. So how often do they use our courts for overflow for their tournaments?
So they use our courts, I would say, every couple of months for overflow and usage. So a lot of times if they run out of match locations for matches at their facility, they bring them over to our facility, or if they have large tournaments and need a couple extra courts, they do that. So I would say once every couple of months they do that. But when they do it, it's probably 2, 3, 4 courts.
Is that after they're already filling all the courts, like in the 9th grade setting? Or is it just that they get maxed out at the tennis center at the high school reason?
I believe it's just the tennis center at the high school is where their main location is, and then where their overflow.
Okay. Thank you.
Could you go back for me to the page that's comparing the different facilities around the area? And I'm gonna lead in. I was under the impression that South Lake did not allow non-residents to play in their pickleball center.
That is not correct. Residents can play. There's just a cost for a membership. So, did I say non-residents? Yes. So residents have a free membership for them, but then residents can become a member. They just have to pay the $40 a month to become a member.
Non-residents.
Sorry, non-residents.
City manager. Okay, so in other words, there's no way just to go in and play for a day. You have to have the.
That is correct. You have to have a membership. Yep.
Thank you very much. Council, any other questions for Shirley? Given us a lot to think about. Thank you very much. A lot of good information, and we're full of football and tennis right now. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys.
I'm sure we'll be hearing back from you during your.
I'm sure that you guys will. Yes. Thank you for your time.
Mayor Pro Tem is challenging the council's pickleball right now. So. Yeah. All right. Item B is discussion regarding parking in Old Town. Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Here to talk about parking in Old Town. It's convenient that we're here. The students, you can see. I'm going to begin with the quick words. In order to promote a park once and walk philosophy of mixed-use development, shared parking concept should be employed to reduce the number of parking spaces required by individual use. That's a quote out of the old Coppell Master Plan, 2002. And since that time, on-street parking in Old Town has been built as an asset for the common good and public use to support the concept. All right, so this slide, what I wanted to walk through, Old Town was built, as you can see, based on a model, right? If you look at that, the old Coppell Master Plan from 2002, Grapevine Main Street, downtown Grapevine, was one of the models that was used. And so I've got the 3 examples up here, which a lot of folks are familiar with. South Lake Town Square. And what I've done is taken an aerial photo, and all of the streets have on-street parking. But I've highlighted in green surface parking that exists in those developed areas. And in blue, in the case of South Lake, I highlighted the parking structures that exist there. And the reason these facilities, if you look at the villages of Colleyville, very similar. On-street parking, you have the large surface parking area there in the southwest. And then Grapevine Main Street, we have Main Street parallel parking, surface parking highlighted in green. Each of these developments, these areas are designed to be pedestrian friendly, unassigned public on-street parking with large parking fields and structures for overall and larger parking needs. No or very limited reserved parking exists on street parking in these examples. There are a couple of exceptions. Like in South Lake, you drive over to City Hall, which is kind of right in the middle. They enacted an ordinance where it's permanent parking only right adjacent to that particular facility. And I do know that they actually very limited reserved parking, at least in one of the structures behind some of the buildings that are reserved for office parking. And I say they're reserved really only in signing because the reserve is not enforced, it's more of a suggestion. And in Coppell, what they do is they have painted business parking in spaces. Look at the Coppell Village concept. There's a closer mix of the residential to the commercial, and so in areas that are more commercial, they mark the curves in those parking areas as business parking. So this is Old Town. Old Town again was modeled after a traditional downtown with on-street parking, shared unassigned parking, pedestrian-friendly area, surface lots, mixture of uses. It intended to have from day one to have social activities and events, farmers market, arts exhibits. And a few years ago, to address the request from some of the businesses, we did add the purpose 10-minute parking signs that were referenced earlier this evening. And along the way, as Old Town has developed, each development has been reviewed and approved with this approach on parking. That here with shared parking available to meet the parking demand, parking requirements. And every business moved down here was bought into that model. Now, as you're aware, there's other development types in Coppell. Some of them may be better suited for other types of businesses. But in Old Town, the form of a downtown walkable mixture of uses, it's not designed to accommodate upfront parking at all times. That we've heard from some of the businesses. And I know we've heard from businesses, we've heard it tonight, we've heard from others about the farmers market and some of the challenges that are loaded, the vehicles taking spaces. Again, those uses were distinct from day one in Old Town. We believe that this type of shared parking is integral to the character of Old Town. And we continue to implement the parking in alignment with this model. Change would mean charting new territory for this type of development. The ones I've shown, you just don't see reserved parking out on the street. You do see parking in the back, you see parking lots, but not reserved out on the street. We would certainly not recommend any type of metered parking, which you might see in some traditional downtowns. Or any change that requires city enforcement of any type of reserved parking scenarios. I wanted to mention the farmers market in that original plan. It was identified as one of the 14 desirable features of Old Town. I've shared some of one of the quotes from that original master plan. And really my intent in the presentation is to provide context for your discussion tonight. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We are requesting direction from council on the desire to make any changes to the Old Town parking philosophy.
Thank you very much.
Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Ken. That was spiritual connection as always. I wanted to kind of test my thoughts about it. So when we look at that map, all those yellow spots, those are parking spaces, obviously, they're all down in one lane, one-way streets with kind of driving parking, maybe we call it swinging parking. Okay, so when I was on P&Z, we would review a new business coming into Old Town. There would always be the parking analysis stuff, right? But wasn't the shared parking concept kind of the foundation of that? Meaning that if you're opening up a business where, like next to like Shine, that new one coming in for maybe a pizza bar, ice cream bar, or whatever it is. When the analysis is done and it's determined that there's adequate parking for that business, that's based on the calculation that includes every one of these yellow spots, right? It's just so the shared parking concept means that we're considering the adequacy of parking for Taqueria, for Tangerine, and Love Shine, based in part on all these yellow spots for these townhomes or residences down on the far southeast corner.
Right, the concept is that it is shared parking for the common good of the development of the Old Town development.
Okay, so I mean, my concern is that, you know, as we encourage more and more businesses to come into Old Town, you know, we're suggesting that the parking for them, but we're including the slot all the way over on, you know, Coppell Road and down here in the South Park. And as a practical matter, no one's looking to use that space. When ready to go to Tangerine and grow next business. So I do think we kind of created a little bit of a conundrum or a problem by applying the shared parking concept to the extent that we're now trying to encourage more businesses in the town. You know, the slot right there where the farmers market park for trailers is a good example. I understand that that's actually designed that way, and that the farmers market folks were taken into account and consulted specifically so that it could be used for their trailers on Saturdays. And I think everybody pretty well agrees that the farmers market's a real jewel in the Coppell crown. I mean, it's one of the best in North Texas. But I think if we're going to be serious about supporting our businesses, we've got to come up with some way of accommodating parking that's in the proximity of businesses. I mean, the holistic veterinary business is kind of a unique example because there's a very dire need for proximity for parking for that specific business. And so I do think we need to somehow rethink or recalibrate on how we're going to accommodate and encourage new businesses and accommodate current businesses and allow them to flourish, particularly as more businesses come in, without really trying to account for the art center parking lot or the parking on the far east side that no one is going to use for any of the businesses that matter. And if that one corner of the old church is ever developed the way it's proposed, again, that was looking at this mixed office retail, that would dump a whole lot of the usage if that was ever to come to pass or anything like it. So, I guess my question would be this: have we ever commissioned a current, like an accumulation study or duration study or anything for the traffic that we're experiencing in Old Town now? No. Do you think there could be any wisdom to that? To try to like the duration, we've heard on a duration basis that some of the businesses are being impaired because folks with the remote working environment want to populate in George and stay for a long time. And that's great for George, and I'm glad to hear that for George. Every time I'm in there, it's like it's thriving, which is wonderful. But, they're complaining essentially people are getting parking too long in one place. There's not enough turnover. I'd like us to consider doing a parking, some kind of accumulation and duration and turnover study to kind of get a better sense for, how this is working out. Because my guess is both of these spots in the south, both of the art center spot, and everything on the far east side are either pure residents or they're empty. They're not being used. And it seems like the big pits are right up here, you know, like, what's that, Houston and Maine? Where we're trying to get more businesses to locate. If we were to put a business on this pad site that we have next to Twisted Green, for example, I mean, it's only going to get worse. So I think we should kind of take a look at doing a formal traffic study and trying to figure out how we can design the parking around our businesses. Since all the residences, I think almost every one of them, if not every one, have garages. So that's my view.
Thanks, Mayor. Can I have a question? Our citizens appearance, I did hear a citizen come up and talk about the parking next to the local diner, and you got that lot indicated in the top right of that map right there. To be clear, that is public shared parking in that lot. Is that correct?
So they built that lot. They do not mark it off as reserved parking. But they built it for the local diner.
Okay, so that is private property.
It is their parking lot, but they do not reserve it.
Is that in some sort of agreement with the BOA or anything like that, or that's just?
No, it's PERS.
That's PERS in the area. Okay, I was just curious because it is marked on the map, so I just want to make sure.
It's the surface lot in the old town area. Right. That's why it's highlighted.
Okay, excellent. My second question is the green area, like right under where it's like West Main Street, just west of.
If you look at the map on the right, there are parking spaces behind both the diner. Those are not highlighted yellow, and that's fine.
I saw
that's a detail. Sorry, I should have pointed that out.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're speaking the same language. So the just west of the farmers market pavilion right there, that green rectangle right there, kind of in front of Let It Shine, stuff like that. I do have a question because I think this happened obviously before I came on council. So I know that, you know, that's generally shared parking area right there, but on Saturday mornings, you know, you've got like the several people that will set up those stalls right there. What is that arrangement, if you will? Is that just always been designated as like we're going to set up booths or stands there, or because I do know that you're basically taking a lot on Saturday morning and converting that to a. Sorry, I'm asking for.
Understood. So through various conversations with those who've been around for quite a long time. Former city manager, as an example. When that was designed, the farmers market was specifically consulted and incorporated in the design. And Jim said this earlier, was specifically designed to accommodate the farmers market traders. So the space on Saturday mornings, I'm going to use this word, it's part of their clean because they were engaged together all the time. Well, I don't know if I haven't wanted to look if it actually ever anything writing, but I just know that that's how they got designed for that. That makes sense.
It does make sense. I do think it's an interesting choice that we've got a flexible like a parking lot that a big chunk of parking does get taken away during that event. And I love and respect everyone that is involved in the farmers market. I want to be very clear and on record with that. But I just think that's interesting that a decent shared lot does get taken. But so I'm just trying to understand the historical context of that because I wasn't on council at that time.
Under the current design, there would be no real convenient location to affiliate for those traders and tents and everything. So it would, not knowing where you're going with this conversation, that would be an apple cart that would be very challenging for us.
And to be clear, I just want to make sure I understand the historical context of how we got to where we are today in this discussion, just to make sure that, because I'm sure I'm not the only one, maybe somebody listening in today may not understand. whether if we're talking about Old Town Park. So that was my reason for asking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Kevin, if we were to go and designate dedicated parking spots for some of the businesses, how many, or all the businesses that came and said we need a dedicated parking space? One or two, or just, let's just say two per business, how many will we lose? Well, I mean, as a public parking. Well, I mean, like dedicated parking for their business only.
So, you know, the way that works, they come in through the process, we evaluate how much parking they need, and then identify what's available, go through that process. So you wouldn't lose parking, but they would be dedicated for that purpose, or for that particular business.
That's what I mean. If we were to dedicate two per business, how many would we lose from as a public parking space?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't talk about asking for direction. There are things that you may tell us to go look into this, bring us back some information. And so we're looking for any particular direction. We told you, here's what we're doing today. We're hearing the various folks say there's different concerns. Ken's brought to you the model that was used for this design. We're even doing the 10-minute courtesy was, you know, that's a change. Well, what the model was. So if you want us to continue to go down a particular path, just understand it's a pump of gas, right? That's something to keep in mind.
And have we had any requests from residents who were handicapped and in a wheelchair, or they're needing a dedicated parking space in front of their residents? Yeah, like along all the yellows, right? In front.
We have ADA spaces that are accessible throughout the town, not the residents.
And then some of the businesses that came and asked about dedicated parking space, forgive me since I haven't visited their locations, but do they not have a rear parking spaces for their business? All of them pretty much do, and that's dedicated for them as well.
It's on the side.
Okay. So it's not that they don't have a parking space, it's just not in the front.
It's just not reserved. It's not right. In our space in front, but they're not reserved for that.
Right, but the one on the rear are reserved for them.
They're not reserved.
Okay.
They're just, they have, is that better? Okay. Can't hear you. Is that better? Yeah.
No, welcome. Sorry about that.
So the spaces in the back are considered on-site, but not reserves. If you, let's say, practically speaking, you drive behind those facilities, they look like parking spaces for those facilities. It kind of looks like your driveway, so to speak. So I wouldn't envision someone parking in those, those rear on-site parking spaces, but I can't say it doesn't happen. It's not
And just out of curiosity, the handicap parkings, well, to your knowledge, are they strategically placed where almost there's one close by almost?
So, so here's what I'll say about the ADA parking. There's enough, and it's proximate enough for the developments. It does not mean that every development has an ADA or accessible space real close, but they are movable. So if there was a specific business that needed ADA access, it's a construction project, but they are movable. And they could be relocated or reallocated.
That's what,
and we looked at that.
That's what I was thinking about. Some of the ADA parking, if it's movable to accommodate some of the requests that we have.
That is a possibility.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. And one question is this, how many parking spots in yellow total? That's what
We have a total of 1,045 parking spaces.
1,045, all those yellow ones. How many active businesses are in Old Town today?
Businesses?
Yeah.
It's a handful.
I'm sorry, active businesses.
Active? Yeah, I don't know that either. I know there's few elite spaces to develop. It's mostly developed.
Do you have any recommendation or staff any recommendation for some of the issues expressed by the business owners today?
Well, the concerns are really where the Old Town parking model it conflicts with the desire to have parking right in front of the business, dedicated and available at any time. So under the current parking philosophy, we don't have a good recommendation or a recommendation to address the various needs that have been brought to you. And so that's why we're here, honestly, is to try to get feedback and direction from council. Do you want us to change the philosophy of parking or stick with it? I will say that the parking is in the public right of way. It is a public asset. The businesses, I mean, the on-street parking, it is a public asset. And it does benefit Old Town on the whole. That's yeah, okay, parking. Just goes to the farmers market parking. We have a policy or request from the vendors that once they offload, they move their cars to like the parking lot back here. I don't know if there's a policy. I will say, I sat down here one morning and just watched them. It's a pretty well rehearsed process. What I witnessed was a lot of them did move down away from farmers market down to this area, kind of the spaces that were here in front of our center or this parking lot. But I don't know that they all did that. But I did witness some of them that unloaded and then they moved down. So it seems like a fairly common practice and not a written policy that I'm aware of. Then the other question, I believe you've already addressed it. So the two veterinarians who are requesting parking, they have parking spots behind their buildings. Yes, they do. They're open to the public or to their clients, right? They're on this as yellow parking spaces. Again, they're to drive back there. They're not very inviting if you aren't going to that particular facility. And there is more of an open parking lot right behind there. So yeah, those parking spaces really do feel like a rear driveway. That's kind of how they're designed. So even though they are included in quote unquote public allotment or public calculation, they really function still not.
So if you were applying, you could be told that those parking places exist.
Yes.
You're welcome to use them. Not just park elsewhere. Correct. Thank you.
Right, Rihanna? Where are these 10-minute courtesy parking signs?
I think we give them to any of the businesses that ask for them. It's called ARC, they have a couple, it's called,
so any business can ask for them?
any business can ask for that. And it's a courtesy sign, so it's nothing that's enforced. It's say at least it's a determined 10-minute one with that.
Okay, and how many, you don't know how many are being used currently?
Seven total.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I guess where I'm going is, so we offer that as an option. It sounds like for the veterinary business, we have a potential solution. They want to go with that. I guess I'm trying to think, because my comments are along with yours of like thinking historically. We wanted this to be an open parking community where people would park and walk to eat and shop and do a lot of different things. And I worry about having designated parking for businesses because I've seen it in other locations of our city where people use it, right? So you park in front of a title company, but you go and you walk to the restaurant next door, you go other places, and so people could be there all day long. I think as far as a study or anything else, I think we've got, and I think it's the mayor that is in my view, but I presume we've got a bigger conversation coming around Old Town at some point. Yes, and so, and thinking about overall where we want it to be, what we want to do with it, what the vision is, and I would propose that we leave things the way they are and then wait for a later time to see if there might be a need, but otherwise, any business who moves into Coppell would know that we don't have designated parking spots. They aren't coming, they shouldn't come with an expectation that that's going to happen. At the same time, Jim, I hear your concern that we want to support our businesses and we want to make sure that they're successful. So we help them figure out other alternative solutions to them to meet. So all that to say is I appreciate the recommendation and I appreciate the background. And I would hold off on anything until we do a bigger conversation around Old Town and see whether we might need to shift that.
Thank you. But before we get off of that one, part of the discussion in June at our work session, at our retreat, will be Old Town. And so be thinking of questions for parking that you need to focus on, that you can bring back to enable that discussion. All right, sorry, I got off track. John?
Thank you. My last recommendation, since you asked for one, I agree with Councilman Hill's assessment that we might be doing something that's setting a precedent where a lot of people might be coming for a different reason as to why they need that space. Just like even the resident, they might say, we have someone that is terminally ill and we need to go and transport them every day in and out and we need a dedicated parking space. Things like that. So I'm not really for changing the current structure, but however, just like we mentioned earlier, that we can move on some of the handicap parking spaces that might accommodate, be able to accommodate both kids who that residents that have asked for dedicated parking space. Instead, then that should be able to accommodate everything. So more so looking that way rather than dedicating parking spaces where we could have endless requests of dedication, and that just takes away the feel of being able to park anywhere and be able to come to Old Town and have that feeling that you talked about initially that was designed to be. So that's my question.
John?
Thanks, Mayor. I guess my recommendation is a little bit more far-flung. I think we should put everything on the table. All the residences, I believe, I think they all have garages. So I think the residents, to a large extent, have access to their residence through the garage. I know even once with the mixed use with the residential upstairs and business downstairs still have residential garages. And, I just, my primary concern is accommodating the businesses and not dissuading future businesses from coming in because we get a bad rap for having a parking problem. You know, I would explore or recommend that we explore looking at relocating the trailers to the farmer's market from that lot to the unused ash site that we have that would put them just north of the pavilion and between the farmer's market and George. So there's a lot of traffic there. I don't think that would be too far out of the realm. And I just think we've got to figure something out because if the taqueria came in hot and had a bunch of patrons for lunch, and if we ended up, you know, filling out everything else that we had, or if one of the financial advisors became a restaurant or something that, or more retail, you know, if that north corner gets developed, we're going to have a lot more demand for parking in that one little area. And I just don't think it works to say that there's adequate parking because all the way on the southeast corner by those residences, you know, we're counting that as part of the shared concept. So I'd like to explore just any kind of way of figuring out, you know, what we can do, and if doing a traffic study to study duration and turnover would help, because I think it'd be interesting to see is all the turnover and duration like around where the businesses are. It's like during the day, if I drive down, what is that, South Dakota or something like this? If I drive down there, I mean, most of those residential spaces are, a lot of them are empty during the day. So, you know, I don't think that's where we're having a problem. But anyways, that's my 2 cents. Thank you, Ken.
Kevin? Thanks, Mayor. You know, some of the initial question was you're seeking direction, right? For me, I think the fundamental philosophy of the open and shared parking, I do think that was part of the master plan. I think that everybody that came into the development, you know, it wasn't a secret or anything like that. I think that is well known and established that this is what this concept is. And so while I do hear that, you know, I understand that people have certain challenges, you know, with their businesses. It's not like it was a secret that was hidden. I will tell just a quick story. I have a business in town, and I had 2 dedicated spots in there, and the unintended consequence was that those spots were for drop off and pickup. And guess what? I would have people that would just sit there and occupy those spots and wait for someone to come out in their vehicle. It was an unintended consequence of that. So it wound up not even serving the purpose anyway. And I say that to say that by designating these certain spots, we're not even sure what the unintended consequence might be of that. Is that going to push people out farther? Is that going to, you know, while it may help a business, would it hinder another business? If everybody's kind of on an equal playing field of, you know, everybody shared the parking, we're not showing favoritism towards a particular business in this publicly accessed parking. So while I do have a big heart for some of the stories that I've heard. I mean, that is the fundamental philosophy, and I think we should stick with that. I do agree with the comments that I do think we have a bigger conversation coming with Old Town, and I do look forward to those discussions, but just kind of where I stand on it now.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Closing comments? All right, thank you very much. Well, we know that we're going to have a bigger discussion at our retreat in June. I'm sorry, it's only in 4 weeks away. So we'll be certainly thinking about that. In June, I'm sorry. But we were doing it at the retreat. We're having Old Town in June. All right, cast and concrete. All right. Thank you very much. Item C is discussing banner poles and digital signage. Mr. Steer and Mr. Garza, I hope Mr. Long is still here. This is his favorite topic, as you probably know.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Tonight's session will be focused around signage. I'll give you a little history. In October 2017, staff presented to Council a marketing or signage plan for Coppell. This included entry and directional wayfinding signage for Old Town, as well as event banners citywide. This was originally part of the City Council rule of fiscal year 2016 for arches in Old Town, which has evolved since then. In August 2018, staff asked council if there was interest in a digital sign at the entry into the Old Town project for advertising the Arts Center and marketing other Old Town events. Staff was given the direction to perform an analysis of the potential configurations and costs involved. After that meeting, we brought forward different conceptual design alternatives and rough estimates for discussion and to receive further direction. At that time, council did not want to pursue digital signage. After receiving the actual costs for the banner poles, or the introduction of Rule 334 and Senate Bill 2, we decided to put a pause on moving forward at the time. We're back before you this evening to give you an update on the banner poles and see if you would like to discuss digital signage as an alternative. Digital signage could be located at the entrance to the city, where we currently have entry monuments. We'll walk you through the costs involved, the maintenance, lifespan, warranty information, hardware, software involved, and that being said, I'll turn it over to Mike Becker.
So we worked with council to determine these 7 locations to install banner poles at the time. These locations were based on the entry points into the city to attract residents and businesses. We contracted out the design with 2 installers for the design of the banner poles, and council had provided us a budget of $400,000 that year. We went out to bid in November of 2021 and received 1 bid for the banner poles, and the amount of $1.5 million, which came out to about $225,000 per location. And this is just for the poles. We would still have to purchase the banners and replace them for each event on campus events, which involved an operational cost and a need to shut down the lanes to hang the banners. So the question is, do we want to move forward with these or look at a digital alternative? So, the digital signs can easily be changed depending on the need. For example, it could be an event that is 2 weeks away, or something happening tomorrow, or even a real-time PSA that needs to be sent out immediately. Or it can be a static design of the city logo and off times. The real benefit of digital signage is real-time messaging. These are a couple of examples. One in Addison you may have seen, and the other is in Corinth. So we reached out to the local sign company in the place. They gave us a mock-up of a potential design that we could use in the meetings. The cost for this side of the design is about approximately $100,000 each at each location, all installed and everything included. After reviewing council discussion on the Veteran Memorial, we discussed those concerns with the company regarding maintenance, lifespan, warranty, hardware, software that would be needed for the signs. According to the vendor, there was no real maintenance needed. We would just need to clean the face every now and then, inspect the connectors, components, etc. annually. The displays are 1 by 1 foot by 1 foot modular units that can be individually replaced. They are fully encapsulated with Lexan, which is an acrylic plexiglass plastic that is 50 times stronger than the average outdoor sign, which is the same material used for bulletproof glass, which helps prevent damage due to hail and graffiti, etc. The They are designed to be fully outdoor units that have regulated fans to reduce the heating turnover. And they also have a Line-X coating, which is similar to that Rhino Line-X coating that you use in the bed pickup trucks. The lifespan of the display is 100,000 hours at full intensity, which equates, if we let it on 24 hours a day, to about 11 and a half years. There is a full 5-year warranty. The software is cloud-based with no subscription fee. Lifetime updates and training is included, which it also provides direct access for us to control the content on the site. Here's an example of one they did in NASA and California Research Center in California back in 2014, 10 years ago. It's still going strong. So the digital signage will allow us to advertise city events, public safety announcements, water conservation, traffic information, or anything we want in real time. If council is interested in the signage, we could start with one on South Line. We do have funds available left in the project. And again, each sign is about $100,000 installed. These are just a couple other locations and mock-ups of what it could look like along other areas of town, Bit Tab, Sandy Lake. And then potentially, if we wanted to do one in Old Town, this is what it could look like at Old Town. They lined up like something earlier. On streets. Okay, on streets. Traffic old bus. Here's the one we brought back in 2018 to show you that we went through the initial discussion about digital signage. The cost of this one was about $120,000 as well. If we were to put this one here. So currently we use our digital message boards for traffic control out on the streets. We also include messages such as water conservation, voting periods. We can continue using these for public display messaging to include registration of fireworks, lights, and parades, etc. if we want to. Or does council want us to pursue the LED digital signage or move forward with the banner installation? Again, here's the difference in the cost between the two. The digital signage is approximately $100,000 per location, whereas the banner poles are about $225,000 per location, plus installation and banner material costs. So our question tonight is, in the end, we are asking for direction on whether or not we should pursue digital signage and the banner poles. And if the digital signage is preferred, we want to be appropriate at the Bethel Main intersection in Old Town. And if council would like us to pursue digital signage, then we can do a pilot or the first one on South Carolina with current projects funded. And with that, we would be happy to answer your questions for a session.
I've got a plethora of councilmen waiting to speak. Councilmember Nevels.
Thanks, Mayor. I wanted to just kind of set some things. So this is something that I've actually spoken to the city manager about and kind of bring this up. And I wanted to make sure that everybody understood the context of why I wanted to talk about it is what I see in our community is we employ a lot of banners on the T-posts that to convey a lot of information along with the traffic control devices and things like that. I personally don't feel that the way that those look aesthetically, we have heavy winds like that, winds blow, it bends the T-post in. When the winds stop, you see a lot of banners that are sagging, that the fasteners snap and things like that. And I just see a lot of things like that happening on a regular basis for that signage. And it just does not, I think, meet the standard, in my opinion, of what our community is. So that is why I brought this up to be discussed. I do have a question though. John and I were just discussing. So 1.5 million for banner poles, and that's not even counting the banners, but then $100,000 installed. Like, how many banner poles was that? Was that seven locations? 7 locations. $1.5 million.
Each location has 3 actual poles on either side of the roadway, one in the middle with twin arms. So the size of the poles and mass is what costs us.
but you have to think about the engineering. Yeah. I got you. It's the engineering.
Yes, it's the size of the pole and foundation required to support the wind loads of the hanging banner over the roadways would drove the cost so much.
Okay. It's not the light pole.
It's about a 60-foot foundation on a 40-foot pole, 35-foot pole.
This is why I'm not an engineer, and so this is why I asked this question. So excellent. Okay, thank you.
John?
Hey, can you go back to the slides where you were showing the height? Okay, yeah. What's the width?
The width, I believe, is 9 feet. 9 feet. The overall width of the foundation is 9 feet wide. The actual screen is a 7 by 9, 7 feet by 9 feet. 7 by 10, almost 7 by 10.
And that price is just one side. It's not.
It's double sided.
It is double sided.
Double sided.
Pretty good.
Now, to say the scale can be changed. The first one we saw was about 30 foot tall, and we said that's too tall. And so we scaled it down. So for context, the new monument sign we put out on the South Bell line is 17 feet tall. And so this was almost 19 feet, so we could scale it.
Okay, and then you were thinking about initially starting out, I guess, what, 4 locations, Beltline, and then was it?
So the 4 locations were both sides, standard, and both sides, and Beltline then attack.
I understand what everyone's saying, but I still see that there's going to be need for additional banners along other places that I know this is going to be the main thoroughfare, but other places that's going to be needed as well. But that is actually pretty good. Well, I think it's pretty good in terms of the price wise, considering that it is a double sided programmable, right? Because I have seen these where they are like 7, like 2 foot by 2 foot. 7 to 1 to 1 foot, the section. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually pretty good price. So,
Sorry, city manager and I are having a private talk here. Bishi.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Mayor. I'm in favor of at least trying with one. You said how much money you have in your budget?
I don't know the exact number, but we have enough to cover the cost of one of the signs.
Okay, I'm in favor of covering at least. Thank you.
I'm just remembering how much the signage at the intersection of Gap and Sandy Lake Road cost us. And that was actually more than what one of these is costing. And those are fixed. So and by the way, I was coming in this with a very negative attitude because I'm kind of in the business of calculating out the reliability and all of that. But with the warranty and the lifetime and the maintenance, sound like a pretty good deal to me. I'm sorry, Mark, did you? It was Jim, I'm sorry, Jim.
Okay, so I'm going to be Dr. No again. I'm not in favor of these. I think they're just aesthetic static on the side of the road. I don't think anyone actually reads this stuff going down the Beltline. You're going 40 miles an hour. Some people are going a lot faster than that, unfortunately. And I just don't think it's going to really truly convey any information. And we have so many other ways of conveying information, the website, water insert, all that stuff that has a better chance of being read and understood. And I wouldn't spend the money on this. I would. Do we have the ability to divert the whatever's left over in the South Beltline Fund to another infrastructure project?
Yeah, what it does is bond funding, so it goes back for potential projects.
Okay. Yeah, I would rather do that than have a single sign, which is kind of an oddity because it's kind of like, well, why they just put one sign there? And then, and I wouldn't put one of these outside Old Town because it seems kind of incongruous with the kind of Old Town thing. And we've already been excoriated for how there's nothing old in Old Town left. So I wouldn't be in favor of this, but I may be totally outvoted.
John?
Like if we were to install these, would that actually eliminate some of the, I guess, the construction side that we normally have when there's something going on?
Depending on the location, it could.
Okay, like if we have at the end of
There's many options we can do. We would still supplement probably with our message boards that we put out for construction. But depending on what the event or the type of construction it is, we could utilize the signs for that.
and that would essentially eliminate some of those signs or banners that we actually have or reduce it, right? In a cost wise.
Again, yes, depending on what the event is, it could.
Do you know the cost of each banners that we put out, the manpower and all that? If we were to estimate,
I don't know if we were to do banner posts. Is that what you're asking?
Even the current
banner post. I don't know the cost, but we can find out for you.
Okay, yes.
We have to have community experience with it.
But with this, if we were to have, I don't know, even 4 of them, that would reduce significant amount of costs on making the banners and putting up and changing the stuff.
And I apologize, Brianna.
Oh, no, because that was actually gonna be one of my questions was could this take the place of some of the other signage, and I guess it's depending on where it's located. If we were to do the pilot, which I'm actually in favor of the pilot just to see how it works. Don't get me wrong, I think I came in at the same time you did. Now I'm like, I don't know, you sold me, Mike. Here's my question: Why that particular location of the pilot?
That was going to be this was recommended based off the project that we had on today. It doesn't have to be a particular location. You can direct us to another location.
Okay.
But
you can use money from that budget.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's helpful to know. And then, so this could be multi-purpose. I guess here's the other question I had is, as you know, there's always been a lot of conversation around business digital signage. Are we opening up Pandora's box potentially? If we, for some reason, if we start to do this and then businesses are like, hey, the city's doing that, can we do something like that?
Well, we talked with Hager, and he said just amend the code, chapter 6, so this isn't opening up the zone limits by business.
Okay, so that's helpful. Okay, and then I do agree with Kevin about the aesthetics of the banners, and I feel like conversations from a really long time ago, before we got that quote, we were actually looking at doing these banners in Old Town only at one point, and we were going to do like these arches. And do you remember that? Okay, and then I guess we went to let's expand the signage to other areas now.
Then the proposal was presented to council with the cost estimates associated with the arches.
Right.
There was some community input that the council took into consideration and ended up mixing spending the funds at that time.
Okay, thank you. That was kind of filling this for the gap. So we get kind of shifted here where I'm willing to pilot. My question then would be, okay, so pilot for how long and how do we measure success? And then decide that we want to pursue other locations. But I will say that through you talking about this, and if it's used correctly, I do look at our banner down there in the city to see what's going on. And even though actually did a wonderful job of keeping us up to date on what's going on. But sometimes I need a reminder. I think that kind of fits into being a smart city. And so that's kind of why I like digital too. So all that to say is, well, measuring success and timing for a pilot if we decide to go.
Right. So we would set up what that looks like. What does we would have to look into to see what does measure our success in this program. And we would create those parameters of sustainable goals
and determine what that length is. So we haven't gotten that detail until what we're going to do, but we would probably provide, so we have to talk about it and figure out what it looks like. What is really success? How do we get that about it? Mark? Look at the scale of it and just the letters Coppell across there. Imagine in the digital area, in kaleidoscope, how big are those letters to be? So, talk about location for this. I would want it to be somewhere near intersections. So when traffic is stopped, people are not flying by at 45 or 50 miles an hour. You're able to make the letters small enough. And potentially you can do a QR code there so you can snap a picture. And then that would also be a way of tracking interaction. I think you just can't put it, halfway down to. There are metrics for distances and times gathering and displaying the message and how long the message changes. There's designs. Yeah, and I would assume the final company would be aware of that, give us some guidelines. What we need to do is so I assume you're saying the intersection here at Beltline and so the current it could be there. The current monument sign is further south, and so there's an option of we just built this. So there's an option of what we haven't gotten into is can we utilize the same foundation for that sign and put this there, or move this sign further north to an intersection, whether it be Beltline, or Beltline and Rainbow, or one of the other intersections on the north. What's our busiest intersection? Well, it depends on the time of day. Obviously, when school lets out, Rainbow's busiest, but at Southwestern, Beltline intersection is probably the busiest. Good place for it.
That John and Kevin said before we go there, I wanted to provide a little bit of background to Brianna's question earlier that Matt answered. For the last 20 or 30 years, the city's been very protective on our signage in town. And we've been very focused on uniform look. And so her question was, is that going to violate or open up the making Denton Cap look like the Strip in Vegas or something like that with blinking lights and flashing signage? And I think the answer is no, but we need to be careful with the ordinance. So thanks for the clarification on that. John?
I hear what Councilmember Walker was talking about, that, sometimes you can travel as they see you, but the fact of the matter is, you drive anything that's there, you do tend to see. And I've always thought that we need to take advantage of these over people that can cross our city just to get to one side of the city or the other, but that is a perfect way to utilize it to attract surrounding residents. When we have events, especially at the old time, and this is a perfect opportunity, I think, to just get that message out. If we have something close, it is a multi-use. It's not just for events, but also when we're trying to get the message out, especially when there's something that's happening in the city, right? So people might be able to witness that instead of their tests or things like that. So this will be a really good use to not only to attract people that are for the events that's going to happen at the OZU, but again, just to eliminate some of the work that we have to do just to get the message out. It's another avenue of getting the message out. So we need to be a plus in the long run for multi-users.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to ask, because I heard y'all kind of talking about it. Are you proposing to? You're not proposing to replace any of the existing entrances and exits. Something that's just part of the question.
Yeah, it's part of the question. Okay, we want to repeat and add addition. It's part of the question.
I will be very clear. I would not support replacing those. I like those. I think they're great entrances to the city, and they're nice aesthetic. I would propose this would be in addition to, and I like the idea of moving them to an area. I don't know what Mark was saying about like a place where it's a little bit potential to be a little bit more static, where you could, see it and see the advertisements or see the notices that are going on about that. And I do want to be very clear, and I appreciate the questions about the intentionality of these signs. I do not want it to be like the Las Vegas Strip as well. And I'm definitely not proposing that we open this up to business owners, myself being a business owner. I am not suggesting that at all. I think this should be more city, more informational purposes. And I would even suggest that like there would be no advertising and private businesses on it or anything like that. It would strictly be informational, what's going on in the city, events, water conservation that's come up multiple times, that type of stuff, but not advertising or anything. I just want to be very clear about my intention for bringing that up.
So I'm not even going to go there. Mike, what do you need from us tonight?
Direction on if you would like for us to pursue digital signage, and if so, do we want to do a pilot projects along that line or another location, and then do we want to include one in Wilmington?
That's a lot. That's a lot. Don?
And I can tell you, every time we rent a LED signs for our events, something like that, you're talking about 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. So you're going to get your money stories really in the long run by being able to advertise not just events, but things that are happening in the city. So I thought it would be much higher, especially with double sided. So I'm just kind of shocked. I don't know. Yeah, good investment.
So the first question is, do we want to pursue investigating? Yes, the answer was yes. Do we want to give you an answer on where to put them at this point? The answer is don't know yet. And then the third one was Old Town. And I think the best answer for that is that's going to be a good discussion for the Old Town discussion. About 6 weeks. Thank you. So, everybody okay? Brianna?
For clarification, the pilot one will be on South Beltline because you can utilize the funds of the current project.
What I heard him say is he could use funds, but it didn't necessarily.
So the funds that to use the project funds and programs should be on somewhere on that list.
Somewhere on that line.
I want to move forward with one of that ones.
That works. Something.
And out of the manacles.
Just to be clear, because the price point is under $50,000, the council will be considering awarding a bid for construction. So just because you're giving us direction tonight doesn't necessarily mean at the end of the day, right, you're going to have that other piece.
Anybody have anything else for the evening? Thank you very much. Well, if there being no further business before this body, we are adjourned at 8:08 p.m.